Welcome, everyone. We're going to be starting here right now, actually. So welcome to Pica TV. This is our first episode. We're very excited. And today's feature is Company Stores. Is one right for you? And I'd like to introduce you to your host, Paul Zaffarana, who will be taking this over and introducing our guest presenter, Drew Pulliam. Paul?
Hey, Cliff, thanks very much. Yeah, we wanted to go through today's topic with a special guest today, Drew Pulliam, who's a great friend to us here at Pica Marketing Group and a longtime resource. We talk a lot back and forth about how we can each grow our business. Drew's the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Branding, and he's been working in this space a long, long time. He tends to work with a lot of the top global tech companies out there. So he's got some pretty good insight on how to build these stores out, what to look at. And on top of all that, he's a very savvy businessman. So he's been a great friend and helping us figure this all out. So with that being said, Drew, I appreciate you coming on today and being able to share your insight with us and your expertise. I know we get involved in doing a lot of company stores here, but it's also helpful to hear a different point of view on company stores and how to set them up, because folks tend to hear from me, but to hear from somebody else in the industry, I'd love to share some more with you. So welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is a great opportunity. I truly believe in web stores, company stores, web stores. They're super important this day and age. I mean, not just because of COVID, but even before and after, as we transition into whatever that new normal will be. They're just so important in the distribution, global, domestic, and being able to account for accuracy and time saving overall. So I truly support them, and I can say that all but 2 of my clients have them. It doesn't pertain to them. But outside of that, every single one of my clients have them and see the value of that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes with all this stuff, and company stores sure have been a great way to get everybody started and motivated over the last 18 months or so. So with that being said, let's kind of jump right into it if you want to here. One of the first questions we kind of have is, I'm a customer out there and we go, hey, what would a customer or client ask themselves if they wanted to create or pursue a company store? What are some of the different nuances that are involved in considering a store, different and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think what's important, it's a great question. I think what's important to understand whether the store is right for you or not in that sense is what's the reason you need it for? Are you reaching out? Is this an internal store that you're trying to distribute or manage swag or gear for the internal team, salespeople, so forth, so on? Or is this a way that you're using to reach out and connect with end users, customers, to award or reward them for being loyal customers, or thanking them for an anniversary of your services or so forth, or just it's their birthday and it's that extra touch point that you want to do. So understanding your needs. If it's not going to be something that's used regularly, a web store may not be the right choice. But if it's something that you have, instead of sending all this stuff out of your own house or out of your own office space there, web stores are a really inexpensive way to manage that aspect for you.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of different needs out there depending on what the end use is. I know we've talked about a variety over the years of, no 2 stores are ever the same, right?
Agreed. Yeah, there are. I have hundreds of stores, literally, and there are very few that match product, or not so much product, but service to service. They are used in many, many different ways.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I know you run a couple hundred of them, and not having any 2 stores that are identical, just to the average user out there, kind of wonders like, what does that all mean? So as we get going on all this, if any of the viewers or listeners on here have questions that pop up that you want to have us answer, we'll take care of answering those questions towards the end of the webinar on here, type them into the chat feature or the Q&A session on here, and we'll be happy to get them answered towards the end of the program today. So, excuse me. I'm glad I got my handy dandy glass of water here to keep me going. So this is our inaugural Pica TV show here. So you are our first guest. So this is going to be a lot of fun. As we get going on this, so what else might they ask us as we're going to go and create the store? They go, hey, you know what? We want to do a company store, and we want to do it towards our employees. Are trying to find a way to, you know, as you detailed out the different styles of them. What are some of the styles of company stores that are available, and how do they differ?
Yeah,
I kind of got into a little bit of it, but
no, absolutely. I think, there's definitely differences in internal use stores, and they can all be combined into one, or they can be divvied out depending on how they need to look and how they need to function. But some of what we see, the basis of an internal store, it might be used by the HR team for onboarding scenarios, bringing people in, pushing out product, whether it's to the office, to their home, as people are working these days, as those welcome kits come through, and managing that whole aspect. In HR, that also handles, is easy to handle, collect a transient world that we have right now, people living in second homes or traveling or moving different places with these work from home environments. When we do have a collection of information, maybe it's a holiday party, maybe it's end of year type stuff, and you're trying to get that holiday gift out. The information is so transient at this point. If people are allowed to go and register themselves online for that product, you have the most up-to-date information, and getting that product or that information or whatever pushed out to them is going to be so much easier than trying to collect. If you have 100 employees, 200 employees, even 50 employees, trying to get that current data is much easier if people are populating it themselves.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing out of all this stuff for the last 18 months is even HR doesn't have all the latest up-to-date information on their employees as they're moving around or where they're staying at to send stuff over to them. So
it's very true. I mean, with my clients alone, I can see how transient they are at this point, moving around from place to place, and they may only be at a month in one place and then a couple months in another place. We're seeing that quite a bit as well. So having the most up-to-date information is so critical.
Yeah. So like on the differences, let's say, there's how many different kinds of company stores would we start off with? Maybe there's it's a pop-up store or a e-commerce or a company store. What are some of the differences that you see out there in those types of stores as they're set up, or a reward store, a recognition store?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there are other very significant differences between those, a pop-up store, a company store, and an e-commerce store. A company store is, as I just explained, HR uses it, the sales team uses it internally to move swag to customers, to reward or award them, moving product internally, whatever that may be. Maybe it's for sending trade show gear out for the next trade show, or managing all of those, that collateral in some way, shape, or form. A pop-up store is more of a short-term store. Maybe it's a specific need that you have. Maybe you have a holiday event going on and you need to collect data for that. Or maybe you have a customer-driven event that you want to build something for, and you want to collect information for a short period of time. Pop-up stores are great for that because they don't require all the back-end code writing, all the privacy policies, GDPR compliances, all those different things, because it's a short one-time store scenario, and that's typically what pop-up stores are really good for.
So those beat the old days of the somebody in the department going, "Hey, I started an Excel spreadsheet, taking all the orders from everybody in the department, and we want this. It makes it real easy for them to kind of collect that data then versus doing an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh my gosh, the collection is so easy, and managing who gets to select product and who doesn't, or which product they get to select, is so easily managed with the tools that we have between our stores. You can make sure that only the right person is getting a selection of product, and they're only able to select what you want them to select. And there could be various products, but you only want them to select a certain thing. There's
Right.
so much granular capabilities with these stores. But moving along to the e-commerce store, we have a lot of clients that sell their product to end users. They have a huge fan base, and they want to sell their product to that end user, or maybe a combination of both. The e-commerce store is by far the best for that one. It allows the collection of funds. It has the security SSL certificates that are needed to be able to manage that stuff securely. It acts as a functional, what you would envision an Amazon style store to be like. Someone goes in there, they collect the product, they get to see the tracking all the way to their door, notifies them of every step of the process along the way. That's typically what we see with an e-commerce type store.
Yeah, so there's some other ways you could set those up. So it's just not for the hats and mugs and t-shirts and pens that a lot of folks typically see it as, but you could bring into that e-commerce store, from a corporate side, you could probably bring in print, couldn't you? From business cards and letterhead and other
We do a
literature
ton
that
of
goes
that.
along with it.
Absolutely. Lots of variable options on there. So if you're collecting, let's say, new employees and they get business cards, they can type their information in there. It actually populates on the screen as they're typing that, so they can proof it right there. It can be sent off for manager approval before a business card, let's say, gets approved. Is one scenario behind that. Tracking if you don't do trade shows, tracking all of that gear and the quality of that gear and where it is anywhere in the world at that point. All of those different things are phenomenal uses.
So it sounds like there's a variety of different ways to set these up and for the different needs, which is great. Let me ask you another question. What are some of the benefits of having a company store? We kind of touched a little bit over there, but what are some other benefits of having these stores as they stand out there?
The first and most important one is sanity. The amount of time and brain function that you save. There's not a single person I've come across yet where their sole job is to manage swag for a company or manage the in and outs of all the trade show gear and collateral and that type. It falls on an added duty. If we can remove that, and these stores allow that, if we can remove that responsibility so it's automated at this point, so that it can be either self-serve or it can be managed by a single person with ease and simplicity, it takes the amount of time and effort required by that individual. I mean, it completely removes it all. There's reporting for all of this stuff. You can make it self-serve, so you don't have to collect all the data. The biggest things, though, is your sanity, time, energy, and accuracy. We find that to be the case when people are collecting information on behalf of somebody else, that things get changed up and the number or information is incorrect. When somebody's doing it for themselves, they know their own size. They know, of course, where they live. All that information is correct, so the accuracy is a lot more.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that happens. You get in there and somebody's supposed to be a size medium, and you got the size chart on there, and they're actually supposed to be and they order a small or a large, and it saves the headache of returns and exchanges and all that stuff, because that could be absolutely crazy on the company side and also on the fulfillment side of all these programs for the stores too. So you can get that information out pretty quick to everybody.
Agreed. With all of our stores, we have sizing templates for each product, which can be very different from product to product, and you know yourself best. And so you'll go in there and know, hey, typically I'm a medium, but in this product I'm a large, and you select that. Where, if the HR person was doing it, they're not going to know. They're going to choose what you put down there, and it may be a variation of what you really need, and there will be a return in time and money and cost.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So along that line, as we're going, let me ask you a question. If we were going to set this up and we're figuring out, from the store standpoint, what are some of the things that go into the global and domestic destinations on some of these stores? You get the pop-up store set up, or the e-commerce, the company store. What are some things that would affect the shipping of it as you're building this store out, that you see happening out there?
Yeah, this is a changing question, or the answer I should say is ever changing. We have a significant global distribution program with our clients, and we ship thousands of packages a day internationally. And we know the space quite well, and we know that it's changing day by day by day. Some of the concerns, some of the things you have to be looking at, a lot of companies these days have a global footprint, especially not only because they may have offices in different locations, but they have employees in different locations. And now you're talking a residential versus a commercial. There are nuances to which countries have easier import-export procedures versus a residential versus a commercial shipment. There are some countries that have very high duties and taxes versus other countries. There are shipping lanes that are more open in some parts than in other parts. We become experts in these. We know those goals, and we know what's easy to get in and out into certain countries. Not that we can't get into those countries, it's just the timeline. So understanding timeline is an important feature as well. If you have a rollout, let's say for a company program, and we have a global distribution process that needs to happen for this product, we know those channels of delivery. So if you know that you have, hey, everything has to land on a certain date, partnering up with somebody that knows that it's going to take an extra 5 days to get into this country versus 2 days to get into this country is very valuable to make sure that everything launches or lands at the correct time.
Yeah, that's a big deal out there, because customs, as you well know, can make or break a program like that, and not knowing how customs could affect it and sit on it can really, that's a big factor in it.
Absolutely.
Like different things, like certain things you can ship into countries that you can't ship out of here or into other countries. Like I know, like what lithium batteries or liquids, kind of like I call it the airplane, criteria.
So there's rules to that. So you can ship up to 3 lithium batteries in a single shipment as long as they're in their original packaging. Outside of 3, then you have to have special documentation. Outside of 25 pounds, you have to have even more specifications for lithium batteries. But it doesn't just land there. I mean, you have food. Food and liquids are very difficult to get out of this country into other countries. It's not getting out of this country as it is getting into the other countries. Agricultural products. So the seeded packs, if you have a basil plant that's in a seed form and you want to send it out for this promotion, in many countries you can't do that. There's about 5 countries you can get it into. Other than that, it's going to be very impossible to get it into those other countries. Alcohol is another thing. It's difficult, but that falls within the liquid as well. But some countries, very few countries, you can get it alcohol into. Other countries, it's nearly impossible. So knowing your product is why you really want to partner up with someone that knows the space well, because they can advise you before you go through the process, selecting these items, purchasing these items, trying to ship it globally, and realize 50% of the stuff that you purchase can't get out of the country into the country of your choice.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're based in Detroit, and we do shipments over to Canada frequently. I mean, it's 15 minutes from where we're at here. So when people think other countries, they think of the US. And for us in Detroit, it's a 15-minute drive, or, a little bit more, but we'll ship over there all day long and twice on Sunday. But understanding what we can get over there, even shipping, a box of crackers or a package of crackers may be a little challenge to get it into Canada versus some hard goods like a baseball cap or a mug or, apparel, which is a totally different animal. So, we kind of use that rule of thumb of the food items over the borders aren't regularly advised without kind of checking them out first.
And to that point, Paul, is partnering up with somebody that knows the space and the global distribution chain very well. It boils down to commercial invoicing as well. If your shipping team is experienced, then they know the correct harmonized code to get product in. They know the correct product, what can and cannot go in. But if you're not a seasoned shipper and not knowing the exact harmonized code for a commercial invoice to get the product into a country could doom your process as well. And so you want to make sure that, as an example, a t-shirt can have 13 different harmonized codes based on the material it's made out of if it's a men's or a woman's, if it's a certain kind of cut, if it's t-shirt versus a polo, many different things. And if time and cost and money are important to you, which I know they are, knowing that information up front correctly will make for a smooth and a cost efficient shipment.
So along that line, would it make sense if we had in our network, we have access to fulfillment centers or other locations overseas that make some of that a little easier to get over versus exporting it from the U.S., where we have and set up a distribution channel over in that area that make things a lot easier. What are some things to think about if we do that?
Yeah, so it's a great point. So we have not only do we have distribution centers across the globe, but we have partner factories that are also across. So we can style items in the United States and in Europe or in Latin America that where we can cut down the cost of shipping because it's produced there and shipped directly from there, saving time, money, energy. Some of the things you have to look out for is not all product is identical. There are some factories that do have some identical product, but a pen, for example, may look one way here, but may just be similar to that pen in another country at another factory. It may not be identical. So it's one of those things that you have to look at. Does the product need to be identical in every way, or can it just be similar?
Yeah, that you brought up a good point about, because we've got supplier partners over there overseas, or anywhere outside of the US, that we can have this stuff manufactured and bring it into country a lot easier than shipping it out of the US and in there. So these are all things to consider as you're selecting product, to do all that, which I think is why people end up partnering with folks like you and I to solve that problem for them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the costs. Nobody appreciates cost of shipping. Nobody receives a package of a T-shirt or a really cool product and says, "Wow, I bet the shipping was really expensive." They don't care, and so, but you care because it's part of your budget. And when you have to spend more for shipping than you do for the product, sometimes it doesn't make sense. So partnering with somebody that understands that aspect of it can figure out the logistics of producing in a different country similar product or identical product, and distributing from those two locations will save you tons of money on those shipping charges and time.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point on the shipping there, right? And the next question I want to ask you is, when it comes to shipping, we live in this Amazon world, right? Amazon sends everything to your doorstep for next to nothing. What should be folks' expectations in this Amazon-like world as it pertains to their store, whether it's domestic or international? What's a realistic, I can't talk today, a realistic expectation on that?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, free shipping doesn't exist. Amazon and their supporting companies don't ship for free. Those bills get passed back to the end user, the company that's producing the product, that's shipping the product on their behalf, and they pay those fees. Now, they are very reduced fees compared to the normal individual that would be paying the standard published rates for something, but they are still significant. We ship a significant amount out of this warehouse, and I can tell you that our shipping costs are very, very close to the Amazon pricing. And some of our stores offer free shipping, and so I get to see what those numbers look like. And it's still expensive, far cheaper than what it would be if you were doing it on your own. And those, I know Paul does the same thing. We extend our discounted pricing to our customers to benefit from that as well. But it's just know that the free shipping doesn't exist. Customers expect that, the end user expects that. So you kind of have to figure out, how do you want that to work on your site? Do you want to build that into the price of your product? Do you want to push those costs out to your customer? A hybrid of those two, where there's some sort of discount. There's lots of different variations to that, but there is no free shipping.
Yeah, I mean, I get that question asked frequently. We're talking about stores are like, well, Amazon's doing it, and trying to even just debunk that, theory on it, that it's all free. Somebody's paying for it eventually, whether it's the distributor, the customer in that respect, or whatnot, but somebody's covering that fee. It's not as free as it seems. It's kind of smoke and mirrors, if you will.
It is. And they have some of the highest fulfillment rates possible. And so it's very costly actually to ship via Amazon. That's the great thing with working with customers like ours. We have the warehousing, we We have those discounted rates. It saves you money overall to not manage that yourself, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. It's that time and energy thing, that time that it takes for you to pack all of that stuff, to manage that, the time and energy to do that. This is what we do. We do it very well. There's a lot of reporting with it. You can be sure that it's going to be done correctly the first time, saving you the most amount of money.
Yeah, that's all great stuff there. As we're looking forward on this, so we go through the shipping. Let me ask you, like on some of those, they even charge some of them like membership fees. Even Amazon has a membership fee. I think it's $119 or so.
Distribution and warehousing is one of the fastest exploding areas right now of growth because the fees and opportunity is so high. There's onboarding fees, there's receiving fees, there's shipping fees, pick, pack, pull fees. There's literally a fee for anything you can think. Every new product has a fee, barcoding fee. It's really crazy the amount of fees that's there. And Amazon has become very, very good at figuring out every type of fee they can pretty much charge. And we have clients that we have here that we distribute product for that used to ship on Amazon, and they've come to us because our fees are far less. And it's cheaper for them to ship through a customized store that we produce for them and than it would be for them to go to Amazon. So I can tell you, and I know, the prices that Amazon charges are published. So you can, with a little bit of digging, you can find them. And I think you'd be quite amazed on the amount of fees and charges there are for that type of platform.
Yeah, it's quite shocking. I've seen a couple of them, and I just sit there and I go, wow, it's just like, wow, we can do this better. Amazon's a big player out there, and I think we're considered a small player in their respect, but we're able to compete with them and compete with them quite well.
Significantly better, absolutely. You have a corporation that's just pushing numbers, the volume that they're doing, versus a company like yours and mine that has that personal touch. You can always get a hold of us. It's going to be curtailed around your needs, not the template that it has to follow. There's a lot of granular capabilities with working with a company like ours.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So let me ask you the next one on this one. With having these stores, we figured out what store we want to have. We've decided what we're going to do. We understand the distribution method and whatnot. We've got the store. We're ready to go. What types of tools can we use, or how can we incentivize folks to shop in that store? How do we get them active in there? We've got it all ready to go. How do we get them active in there? And
Yes,
how does that differ for different stores?
Yeah, and it really does. I'm glad you brought that up. It really does differ between stores. Pop-up stores are very much the easiest kind. People they're going there for a reason. They're being driven there for one point or one purpose or another to collect that information. So those are typically the easiest because that marketing has already been pushed out and it's driving them to that site. And so we'll circle back around and talk about that one. E-commerce stores are the ones that we see the most marketing incentives or plans, campaigns put together for that, because you're trying to get people to come to the store to buy something or to utilize that store for one thing or another. And our stores have inherent marketing tools within them to be able to use social media, email capabilities to push out marketing. And maybe as an example, you have a customer that comes through and they buy something from you. To get that person to come back again, because repeat buyers are always your best buyers, you can automatically send something out that says, that gives them, the moment they buy something and it lands, it can send out a survey, it can send out a 10% off coupon your next order, or maybe it's free shipping for your next order, or maybe it's a combination of something to get them to come back. Again, we see with our marketing efforts, the ones that we do, those things make a big difference, and we see so much return rate when we do those type of marketing campaigns.
It could fall on us as our individual companies to help market it out there for them, or on our customers to, that's why we ask the plan. Like, what do you plan on doing with this? How do you plan on getting the word out there to keep people active in here, and understanding what their marketing plan is on it? Is a big question we can do to help them. Because they'll look at it and go, was it successful or not? Was it useful? And those are some of the questions I like to ask up front to understand the whole process with them. So,
and tracking that is very important. That follow up, did it give you that ROI you were looking for? Did it hit the targeted individuals? Did you get that return? Did you get the numbers? Knowing that information up front for someone like Paul and myself is very important, because we now have a basis to go after. We know that you're trying to achieve a certain level of something, and we can market around that based on that. But it's really, it's a two-way street for as far as that goes, or it's a combined effort. We have marketing tools, and we're experts at that marketing aspect to get people to the store or get people to utilize the services that you're trying to push out. But there's nothing better than, especially for an internal store, is that combined effort. What can we do to help you market it on your side as well? Is there an internal website that we can market this on? Is there something we can do as a drop to each individual office so that people are aware of this? Branding, posters, marketing materials to get people knowing. But having a dual-sided approach from the end user or the customer and our side will just make it that much more successful.
Yeah, I mean, can we use like different tools like within the site itself? What are some tools we could use inside the site to help market that along? If we did an email blast out to somebody and said, hey, by the way, here's the incentive to get you to come into the store and do it. What kind of tools do we have at our disposal to use in there from that standpoint?
I mean, there's a ton of them. So, and not only Martin, I'll talk to the email question, but everything's really pushed through social these days. So our marketing tools inherently throughout the sites allow us to push out like a MailChimp type marketing campaign. It actually allows you inherently, not just through that, but inherently through the program, to create an actual campaign, graphics, who it's being pushed out to, timelines, dates, all those different things. So it's captured correctly and pushed out correctly through an email. But it also allows you to connect into your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter accounts, so you can push those graphical advertisements or marketing out those channels as well. And not only does it do that, it captures that information, so you can see that they're being seen, you can see that they're being clicked on, you can see where they're coming back to. Which all that information is important. If you build a site and you know that through the data, you see that one page or one product is being viewed a heck of a lot more than other product, you know that you're on the right track with that specific type of product or that page, and you can start curtailing the future stuff towards that.
Yeah. So another tool that we use over here, are discount codes or coupon codes or gift cards. Right, you could drop in the email and you send it out. You can make it a unique code or an overall, save 20% through the store type thing. We've used in some of our stores in those marketing materials that we send out.
They are, yeah, the discount codes and gift cards are by far the best tools within these stores. A quick difference between the two: discount codes are used to remove costs from an individual product. That's it. A gift card removes costs from your entire shopping cart. So that may include the product, taxes, shipping, or taxes if any, and shipping charges, where discount codes only work towards the product. So if somebody has a $100 gift card and they have $50 in product and $25 in shipping charges and tax, they'll have $25 left over. With a discount code, if they have a $100 gift card or a discount code and they spend $50, they may have to pay for shipping if you don't have it set up for free shipping. They may have to pay shipping, but they don't get the balance of that $50. It's a one and done type of product. They can't go back and use it again with the discount code.
Yeah, so somebody like an HR department could take, with all these new employees coming on, you could use that on there to kind of regulate, what the new employees would get, right? Per se, they get the set of 3 polos and a hat and the mug and the journal and jotter in the box that comes out to them. And you could use that code in there that they get this kit, and then they could get them the opportunity to purchase or whatnot, other items with your company's message and brand out there, right?
Absolutely. Discount codes are great for that exact purpose. You can make discount codes so they work for a specific product, a quantity of products, a certain dollar value. So you can say that, if you're giving out $100 to a new employee and they can buy whatever they want, then you make it available for the whole store. If you say that I'm giving you $50, but it's only good for these 2 products or one of these 5 products, you can select something, make it so it only works for those products. You can make it very, very granular in what those discount codes can be used for, when it can be used, timelines, turn-off times. The sky's the limit for discount codes. They're really fantastic for that type of use. And gift cards are, like I said, more general in nature, where you're giving someone that can go back, and if they don't use all the value, they can go back and use it until it's completely depleted.
Right. Okay. So we've gone through the process now of figuring out the different types of stores. Now we've narrowed it down. We've got the store chosen. We picked out the items. We figured out our tools. Now we've built this whole thing up now. And you're ready to pull the trigger. And you're like, yep, let's do it. What are some of the expectations that folks could or should consider from a timing standpoint, from a timeline standpoint? I know it doesn't take as long to do more elaborate e-commerce stores as a pop-up. What are some expectations that folks should consider in their planning the process of the store choices?
Yeah, building out a store doesn't take that long. A lot of these things, especially for someone such as Paul and myself that have been doing this for quite some time, I've done a couple hundred stores. We have a couple hundred stores that are in play right now. We can knock out stores within a day. That being said, if I have 5 to 6 stores to build out, that may push it out a little bit. But stores themselves don't take a very long time to build. It's getting the graphics in, that type of stuff, how it should look. And that's going to be a sit-down process to make sure it looks exactly how you want it to look. And then there's a review process, making those little last-minute changes, the policies, return policies, all those different things. Those, realistically, you're talking, a few days to a week to put something like that together for the review process back and forth. But building the actual store doesn't take much time.
Yeah.
Then you have the product. In our industry, standard turn times are 7 to 10 days for apparel, 5 to 10 days for hard goods is the standard. Not that it can't take less time or take more time, but just as an average, that's the standard turn time. So knowing when you want a store to go live, if you have an event, if you have a launch of something and you're trying to time with that, those timelines are really important to be able to get product in there and to be able to get that store built and up and ready the way you want it to look, to plan those things. Now, those things can go tandem with each other. It's not like you have to take a week to build a site and then another week to 2 weeks for the product. They can go in tandem and save that time. But there is a little bit of time and effort putting those things together, but it's not an amount of time that you couldn't hit certain timelines.
Right. I know we've had some, depending on the complexity of them and the number of products that are in there, that we can do in a couple days, and some that take 4 to 6 weeks to do, depending on how broad they are. You're talking 70 to 120 items in the store. It's going to take a little bit longer to do, and how they want to have it all set up. So there's definitely a variety of timelines, and changes that happen, and you're going back and forth in the approval process. That all adds into it to do some of those. So you brought up some interesting other comments or other points on these. As that store's being built out, right, there's going to be returns. What after they got this built and talked about it, the next question I have for you: how does it work with the policies on all the data we've collected from everybody, all the employee information? You deal a lot with tech companies, right? You deal with some big players out there. I don't want to name any names, but you deal with some large players out there, and they're not even able to have their own internal stuff because of internal policies. What are some things that you have seen out there when it comes to policy and data collection and employee or customer information? How do you manage it? What are some things you've seen?
Yeah, it's really interesting. These large corporations, large tech companies. Some of the top 5, 10 tech companies in the world. We build these sites and put them together, and they can't collect data from their own employees. They may have 4,000 or 5,000 employees plus, and they're not allowed, if they have an event, to collect that data because of the rules and regulations set either by government regulations overseas, or it's a company policy. And what's interesting is, because our sites are GDPR compliant, which is just the General Data Protection Regulation, which is a standard in the EU, which is by far more stringent than what we have here in the States. If your site is GDPR compliant, you most likely can get past any hesitation from the powers that be within a corporation, the legal team, whatever. And the reason is for how that data is collected, the security level, the certificates for that security level, and what's done with that information after. Is it available to employees? Is it available to us? How is it available? What kind of information is valuable? How is it scrubbed? It also has to allow for an individual, if they don't want their information to be stored in this collection basis, that they have to have easy access to be able to see what's seen of their information that is collected in this data, what type of information is stored, and they have to have the availability to be able to have that removed. And those GDPR compliances in our sites allow us to do that. And it's an automated process. It comes in, they get to see their data, it's automatically scrubbed from the system, and it meets those levels of security.
Yeah, that's a big deal, because the last thing you want to do is, you entrust this website to have all your information, and they're using it for nefarious reasons, right, or purposes, and you're going, wait a minute, I didn't authorize them to do that, or sell it off to a third party or whatnot.
Exactly.
Or unless you notify them that's what you're going to do with it, and in which case they've opted in for it. But you want to make sure, because your personal information is gold out there, and we try to protect it as much as we can, and letting the end users know what they're getting involved with, right?
Absolutely. I think that openness, that transparency is what makes this a more usable type of platform. Transparency is everything. And if people are comfortable with how their information is being used and shared and stored, you'll have more movement on your store as well. But again, having GDPR compliancy on your site is basically a badge of honor at that point. You know that it's up to all the regulations.
Yeah. Well, this is all great information we got so far. So we've gotten through the information, the policies, and whatnot. The reporting, right? You've got all the information now. You've collected everybody's data and whatnot. Is how simple or complex can it be, right? As we get that reporting set up for the powers that be that want to see it. In our case, it's usually our customers that we're collecting the data on behalf of. What are some things to note about the reporting process?
Reporting's huge, and it becomes more and more important the bigger the store gets. When you're talking a couple of employees with a couple of products, it might not be as important, but as that grows and the offerings grow, and whether you're collecting funds or not collecting funds, shipping data, usage data, department data, this reporting is by far one of the most important things people ask about. And I know Paul does the same thing, we pull the data together each month, send it off to our clients, and the level of data is incredible at this point. We can break things down by cost center, who has bought what volumes of level, where things are being shipped. There's literally nothing we can't see about a transaction that happens on that site that we can't give a report about. Unfortunately, there's so much data that it could take you days to read through it. So what we do is we sit down with the customer at the beginning, understand what their data requirements are as far as reporting, so that we can put together either a 10,000-foot view or a very granular view of that report that they would get each month, or if they need it more often than each month, we can put that together as well. And then over the next few months, you start reports, I should say, whatever that cadence is, you will be able to tweak that and say, you know what, maybe I want to see a little bit more, maybe I want to see a little bit less, until you get to a point over a few of them that you know exactly how the report should look for that individual. But the amount and depth of reporting is insane with the platforms that.
Oh, I know. I have a couple that we have set up that we do a weekly report. It comes out to my customers on Monday, but I get it's like reading War and Peace on Saturday and Sunday. My inbox fills up with reports from everything, so you can kind of monitor what's moving, what's not moving, what's close to being out of stock, so that you can get ahead of it and find out that, through supply chain, you may find out you may have ordered 100, let's just say, tumblers into the program, and somebody was having an event and they blew through 85 of them, right? And you didn't know that it happened. And all of a sudden you get this report back that says you got 15 left. Well, you don't want to, that the supply chain, to get all that stuff down the pipe and ready to go so that you're not out of stock, because nobody wants to have the we're out of stock conversation. You're ready to go with more products, what makes it very seamless, right?
Yep, those min-max numbers are really important. They're known over a period of time with your buying habits, but you also start seeing trends as well. If you have it over a period of months and years, you start seeing that, hey, an event happens at this time of year that we blow through this type of product, and that data, that reporting tells you that, so that you can get ahead of that and maybe bulk buy before that if you know that that's what's going to happen. But this reporting will show you all of that.
Yeah, and that's, we typically try to have, we talk about, like, in our contracts, having a 2-year contract on stuff. For us, I know you do it a little differently, but we do it for 2 years for that reason, so we can understand those trends and really try to um, give them a very robust, 30,000-foot view down to a 500-foot view of what's happening.
Exactly.
Because we've collected the data, we understand where the peaks and valleys are happening over the year, and passing that information on so that they can better understand where their budget needs to be spent at and what to get ready for.
And their buying habits. Why is this thing important? Why are we blowing through these things? Why is it this size? Why is this type of product? And they can market to that, or they can buy or build around that type of information.
Right. Oh, so this is all, these are good things. So as we've gone through the reporting and so forth, we warehouse a lot of goods, right? A lot of variables that go into it. As folks are looking to partner up with somebody like us, what are some good reasons they want to do this with somebody like us as a professional in this area? I think we covered a lot of reasons in here. What should they look for when partnering with a company to do this?
I think it's important to have that, that relationship. When you're dealing with, there's a lot of distribution centers out there that just do distribution, and you're basically a number. Where with us, we handle the whole gamut. The product, the distribution, the warehousing, pick, pack, pull, the whole thing. We can manage every aspect of that instead of multiple different companies handling multiple different things, and everyone's waiting for the next person to get something done. We can see the whole chain as it happens, so we can get ahead of issues. We can get in front of all of those different things. But again, it's a relationship business. It always has been with Paul and myself and our clients. You can always pick up the phone, get an answer. We're looking out for your well-being. We're not going to just try to push product, push services. We have to make sure it makes sense for you, because we're looking for the long term. We're not just looking for a sale today.
Right.
But working with somebody that may, min numbers, you may not need to buy 250 of something when we might be able to do, 25, 50 pieces of a certain product and keep those costs down. We're able to do that because of our buying power, to be able to lower those costs for you and lower those minimum quantities, where someone that just does this as a distribution, they have numbers they're trying to hit. And if it doesn't make sense for them to keep it on their shelf because you're not spending enough money with them, then you may not be a good customer for them. For us, we're looking at that whole process, that whole relationship. And so there's a lot of caveats to that.
It gives you a chance to really go in and test some pieces out without having to make that big capital investment into,
100%.
buying 250 or 500 units of an item that you're like, well, we only need 25 or 50. We can get it in there and start it out. I think part of what you and I offer as well in a lot of this is we effectively are the brand police, right? We're seeing all the aspects of all this stuff coming in, and making sure the red is red, the orange is orange, the blue is the blue. That's all supposed to happen with this, and we can really monitor their brand and be a good partner for them in that respect. So
to that point, we see it every step of the way. So if you had a separate distribution center and a separate company managing your website and a separate company that's producing the product for you, everyone has to try to work together where it is us. So I can tell you that when we produce product, we see proofs, they go to the customers, they approve them, product comes to my warehouse. I have a quality control team that's on site looking at every detail of every piece that comes through to make sure that it's on brand 100%. Anything wrong with it, any variance that doesn't meet the standards gets pushed back, new product is produced. We don't settle for mediocre. It has to be 100% right, because it's your brand, it's what you're being represented by. And if it's wrong, we need to catch that ahead of time. And so for us managing that whole process, we see every step of it along the way, and we can assure that nothing's getting into the stream. That's
Right. I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of things flying through there, and we're getting stuff in from different factories. A lot of things happen like at lightning quick speed, and the deadline in some instances doesn't change. That it still has to get out for. So, we try to do that as well. But it becomes its own animal, if you will.
indeed.
So thanks for sharing your time and expertise with us today. I'm looking over. Cliff's been monitoring some of the questions coming in. Cliff, what types of questions you got coming in over there on your end?
Well, I will tell you that I'm pretty excited. We have a huge group here today. Very excited about that. We've got a few questions. Bill asked a question: does the fee change at all depending on the number of SKUs or products that go into a store?
Yeah, it's a good question, Bill. Again, it's going to depend on the type of store that we have set up, right? For the most part, if we're doing 25, 30 items in a store, and we've got a multi-year contract on it, we may not charge for building out the store on it, right? For the most part, where we're going to make our everything look good is we're providing the product. We want to give you the tool to order those products on, right? That's where we end up making our money, if you will, is through the products, not pushing the product, I don't say pushing the product out there, but
turnover,
providing that resource, right, to do it. I want to give you the tool to make sure that your product's getting out there. So for the most part, no, we don't typically charge for additional items in the store to get set up. It just may take a little bit more time to do it.
Well, that's a great segue, because Jan has a question that says, for either of you, what would be considered a good amount of turns in a year in terms of inventory? How many times would the inventory need to be turned for you all to consider that? I mean, I know you're probably going to say, 80 times a month, but I mean, in realistic terms, how many turns a year would be normal?
Drew, I'm gonna let you take that one.
I have a very specific number for that. We've been doing this for quite a long time, and I can tell you that we want to see 10 orders a month go through that store. That's where it really just makes sense for both sides. If you buy a bunch of product and sit on a store and it never moves, it does nobody any good for you guys just to be sitting on product. So over the amount of time, we figured out that if you just have, and it doesn't have to be that exact number. If you have 5 this month, 15 next month, or you don't have a couple months without anything, but we figured out that on average, 10 orders a month is kind of that baseline is where we want to go. We typically see a lot more than that anyway, but we have had stores that have had 10, 8, 7, 6 a month, orders, because it's a certain time of year or it's a certain type of product or whatever. But overall, that's the number that we're trying to hit.
Yeah, we look at it also. We want to try to turn that inventory over about 3 times a year, right, on those products. It gives you a good idea. So it's not stale. You want to keep stuff fresh in there.
And that's where choosing the right quantity of product and the right product is very important. Instead of just bulking up large, which may be needed for a certain type of thing, think of things that are limited time offers. Those things move the best. Maybe you're talking 100 t-shirts or 50 t-shirts or 250 t-shirts of a limited design, so that stuff flies off the shelf, versus, hey, let's just buy 5,000 t-shirts and we'll sit on them because we get a good price for it and it goes out the door. Now that need may be there because you have the need for that for trade shows or whatever, and that 5,000 type order is needed. But look at the type and quantity of product to keep that turnover moving.
Yeah, and that's what people rely on us for, is to kind of pick out the trending items, give you some strategies behind why you may want to have a limited edition item out there, because it'll go in the store, it'll move, and when it's gone, it's gone. It gives it some
mystique.
Mystique, yes. All the collectible stuff. It gives it some collectability to it. It gives folks like, well, if I don't act now and I don't respond now, then I'll never be able to get it again. They want to belong, right? They want to be part of that.
And I can tell you that's where we've seen our biggest gains over the many years. We didn't always do that. And then quite a few years back, we figured that piece of the puzzle out, and we reduced the number of individual orders or volume order and changed it to more of a limited edition style. And instead of having 1 or 2 shirts on a store, we may have 10 shirts on a store, but they're in smaller quantities. And maybe it's not 10 at one time. Maybe it's, this month there's 2 shirts or 1 shirt to choose from. The next month it gets changed over. People realize real quick that, hey, that original shirt that came out, I can't get anymore. I better be on the bandwagon and get this next one because I know it's not coming back again.
Right. I mean, there's always some holiday to celebrate throughout the course of the year, right? We've all got them on our calendars, but there's all the little, whether it's the national ones or the corporate ones that we could build into it to help them, get that message out there for the employees, whether it's 4th of July or, we got Memorial Day coming up here this weekend. But we can help them tie that in to really drive sales to their store on there. And that's why they're bringing us on. So
Absolutely.
Drew, I want to offer you a big, huge thank you for coming on and sharing your insight with us. And Cliff for helping moderate this on the back end and pulling it all together. So I really thank you for doing it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love talking about stores. They're hugely popular right now, and they have been for quite some time, but never more so than in today's time. And I can tell you that if it's managed correctly by the right team, you will be very happy that you took that step forward with one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a video high five, right through here. All right,
very nice, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yep. So for those of you that are tuned in right now, if you want some more information on the company stores and which one's right for you and should you even have one, we've got listed up here. Contact us at the network, Pica Marketing Group. Our office number and cell phone are on there, and you can reach out an email to paul@picamarketinggroup.com. Love to help you out and help you decide if it is right for you. So, Cliff, why don't you tell us some more about some upcoming episodes?
Yeah, we're very excited here at Pica TV. We have a bunch of feature lengths coming up with, actually this is out of order, but our packaging segment will be next in June. And then we have, and you'll get announcements on these. And then we have one on kitting and fulfillment. We have one on cause marketing and generational marketing. And those will be actual live events. Our 15-minute mini series is going to kick off at the end of this month, where we'll be doing 10 throughout the course of the year on various topics. Once again, you will be hearing about these throughout the course of the balance of this year. We're excited that you were here today. We had a nice crowd. Thank you for being part of the inaugural Pica TV, and we look forward to seeing you in June.
Bye, everybody.